The views and opinions expressed do not necessarily represent those of Access Fort Wayne, the Allen County Public Library, or any other supporting group. Access Fort Wayne is a department of the Allen County Public Library. If you or anyone you know might be interested in making a television show, please call 260-421-1250.
Hi, I'm Dr. Rudy Kachmann. Welcome to the show. This is going to be very interesting. You know, I'm about wellness, how to stop, prevent, reverse disease. And this really is the key to good health, today's show, avoiding sitting disease. It's rampant in our society. Some people, you know, you call us Homo sapiens, Homo erectus. Some people call us Homo sedentarius. Okay, we're sitting too much. We are sitting too much, and it happened because of the Industrial Revolution. You know, we developed a lot of jobs, but we're not moving. We used to work in agriculture, a lot of heavy equipment, walked a lot, didn't have cars, and we were using our muscles, our bones, but now many people are sitting with a computer all day. You know, some people are sitting 8 hours a day, and then they come home and watch television, and they think the average that people are sitting today a good 9-10 hours a day. And so even if you have a very hard job, maybe not making so much money, if you're moving, you're ahead of it. You get $1 million in the bank. If you don't have other bad habits like smoking or drinking, you're way ahead of it. There were studies were done on this actually as far as 50 years ago, where in England they studied conductors and railroad engineers and bus drivers, and they studied them and found out there was that the people who had the sedentary job of the transportation system, they had 3 times the heart attack rate and vascular disease than the conductors and the people walking up and down the railroad cars, and the ones that were moving, they were much healthier. So that was really 50 years ago, interesting. Then a Dr. John Levine, who at the Mayo Clinic eventually, from London, took an interest in the energy of movement. Even as a small child, you won't believe it. As a 10-year-old, he used to watch snails in his bedroom. He'd wake up every half hour and measure the distance they had traveled. And he was very interested in motion and energy expenditure, and got an engineering degree and became the world's expert. Then he eventually moved to the Mayo Clinic, and there he had, can you imagine it, 150 research people, and they studied the expenditure of energy in movement in every way you could possibly think of. And we're talking about not just running a race, we're talking about just walking or lifting something in the activities of living. And he called them NEAT activities, okay? Non-energy activity thermogenic. Non-exercise activity thermogenic. In other words, he's not talking about running marathons. He's talking about doing the dishes, walking the dog, playing the piano, dancing. He and his group even invented vests and apparatuses you could wear on your arms and on your chest, like girdles almost, and measure the energy expenditure. Yeah, in great detail. Very interesting. One thing you found out, for example, if you go to a gym and work out, they studied that very carefully, and you would think, oh, I probably expend a lot of energy. Well, I hate to tell you this, but most workouts, 150 to 300 calories is all you burn. So if you trying to lose some weight and just go work out, or I work out at the gym 3, 4, 5 days a week. I mean, that's a great habit, good idea. You burn some calories, but it's not a big number. What he found out, the most interesting thing, is that you burn a lot more calories with your ordinary activities that you do every day. And if you increase them a little bit, you can burn a lot of extra calories. Yeah, let me give an example, an easy one. If you're sitting, you burn about 15 calories an hour, okay? If you stand up, you triple that. Interesting. He also, if you look at the energy burn of the day, and this is very interesting, you'll find this fascinating. Let's say your energy burn of the day is this high, okay, this much. About 50% of that, okay, 50% of that is basic metabolic rate, okay? That's the energy taken up by your brain, your heart, your lungs, your kidneys, the pancreas, all your organs, your intestines, your energy taken up. The bigger you are, the more energy you burn. That makes sense. Your BMR, yeah, that's 50% of your calorie burn, because remember, the energy you don't use up will sit on your body, in your belly, or your buttocks, end of the day, okay? So that's the BMR. When they starve people, like the contest they were having in one of the hospitals, The Biggest Loser, they exercise them 6, 7 hours a day, then they starve them, 1,000 calories, say, a day, and they're losing weight. But what's happening is their BMR is dropping, and when finally they get sick and tired of all this, start eating again, they weigh more than ever. I know somebody like that it happened to. Lost 50 pounds, gained 75, because his basic metabolic rate stopped. So, okay, we get the total calorie burn, 50% is BMR. Hard to change that, okay? Then we have the thermic effect of food, how much energy used up in the type of food you eat. For example, fat. Only 4% used up in energy. Yeah, 96% of fat you eat will sit on your belly or your buttocks within 4 hours. Yeah. Oils, 100% fat. Yeah, even olive oil. A little bit's okay, but you put a lot of olive oil over your salad, for example, you're going to gain weight. It'll be in your bloodstream 4 minutes. Are you getting the point? But if you eat, say, a lot of vegetables and fruit, for example, water dense, they take up a lot of volume in your stomach, okay? So eat a huge salad, it will stretch your stomach, and when your stomach is stretched, you will secrete less ghrelin. Ghrelin, that turns appetite on, so appetite turns off, okay? But if you're eating a high-fat something, or oils, for example, they occupy, or meat products, very little space in your stomach, doesn't stretch your receptors. It's going to take a lot for you to feel full, okay? And there's a lot of fiber in vegetables. Fiber is complex sugars, okay? And these, you may be eating 1,000 calories, but a lot of this, if you eat a lot of vegetables, is complex sugar, and will pass out in your stool. So if you eat 1,000 calories of vegetables and fruit, you only may be taking in about 500 calories. Yeah, interesting. Isn't that interesting? Yeah. And then we have the rest, which Dr. Levine would call non-exercise activity thermogenic. In other words, something you don't do in the gym. And he takes the gym and measures it apart. I don't do that because they follow the people and find out only 3.5% of the people exercise regularly. Almost not believable. I guess 20, other people guess 50. Yeah. I know that's true because I work out at Planet Fitness, because people ask me questions there and I answer them for health. And they find 30,000 members just at this one place, but only 10% work out regularly. Yeah. So when you think this is a select group to begin with, they selected to go there, okay? And then the amount that show up, and it's a judgment-free zone, just like it says when they're assigned, okay? Okay, judgment-free zone, just the way it is. We're not being critical. So I just say AOL, activity of living. If you exercise, fine, it's great, it's wonderful. I do. I play pickleball, tennis, lift some weights at Planet Fitness, whatever. You know what I mean? So we're all different, but the main thing, though, the big thing that Dr. Levine and myself are pushing is activity of living, the amount of energy used up in your routine activities. If you could, for example, in the office, increase your activity, say 200 calories a day, by standing up when the phone rings, taking a walk at lunch. Some people even, that's why you hear today about treadmill deaths, okay? It was Dr. Levine who invented it, actually. And treadmills with computers, so I'm talking about, and the SOODS equipment, they'll speak about that. Some put bikes underneath your desk. They have those, okay? And you can go into some websites, and I'll speak more about them in a little bit, where they have many choices. So we can do it at work. Then you don't exactly have to go to the gym when you come home. But if you want to too, you know, that's great. But just to move, maybe keep some weights on the desk. So if you can increase your activity of living, say at work, wow. But can you imagine how lucky some people are? Like yesterday, I had my hair cut. And the lady is standing up. She's moving a lot, using her arms a lot, and you think she would be one of the healthiest people around because her movement, okay, her non-exercise movements are huge. Oh, I bet she's burning, you know, God knows how many calories during the day. But she looked very unhealthy. Remember? Judgment-free zone. But she looked very unhealthy. Well, what do you think? I think you could tell me. Probably addicted to sugar, eating a lot of carbohydrates. But you see how she has beat half the battle. She doesn't have to go to the gym. She has great exercise at work, but yet unhealthy. The same when I go to some factories today. You know, we think, oh, 20% of the people smoke, right? Well, I hate to tell you, I've been to many factories where 70 to 80% of the workers are smoking. Again, judgment-free zone. They needed to feel good. There's fear, anxiety, stress, family, God knows what. But they're smoking, and then one of them happened to see me getting a cup of coffee at Starbucks, and he says, Doc, most of us drink too. Why do they do that? To feed those neurotransmitters to feel good. While I'm on the subject of neurotransmitters, we have in our brain, nature designed it, okay, for us to seek sugar, stay alive. So there's a hotspots, a circuitry where, for example, sugar will light up the brain with functional MRIs. They've demonstrated that now in the secretion of dopamine. I'm in heaven. I eat that donut. Oh, it feels so wonderful. Some people use cigarettes, some use alcohol. I use a cup of coffee, walking in nature, petting my pets, whatever. And my cat's laying in my chest. These are cause secretion of hormones, neurotransmitters, neuropeptides in our body to make us feel good. And we use food for that. Yeah. So some of us become addicted to sugar. And I'm just trying to wake you up to it. But you can detox some sugar 3-4 weeks, for example, by eating less of it. I didn't say stop eating, just eating less sugary products, reading labels, find out, because sugar comes in 50 different names. You know, molasses, fructose corn syrup. You got to know those different names because these companies will fool you. They're trying to make money, okay? and they will fool you with their names. So let's get back to the basic metabolic rate, the thermogenics of food. Remember I said vegetables, you lose a lot of the calories because they're full of fiber. Fiber is your friend, okay? Dr. Joel Furman would say, fiber is your friend because it makes you feel full, it passes through you, and it's very healthy for you. And you can eat a lot of vegetables and fruit. It stretches your stomach, less secretion of ghrelin, the appetite stimulant, and passes out your stool, and your calorie intake, isn't as much. But now you need to, people can increase their calorie burn per day about 2,000 calories. Yeah. If you just did 200, say the difference between someone who does move, okay, versus someone who doesn't, okay? It's a movement, and we have in us muscles that would be called stabilizers, okay? If you do yoga, for example, and you're in a certain posture, you're using the stabilizing muscles, okay? So yoga is a great way to improve your balance and use the stabilizers, for example. And then we have mobilizers, ones that you're running with, okay? The stabilizers are called red muscles, and the mobilizers called white, okay? So type of activity can determine your calorie burn. It has been determined now, why this is so important, is that they have found that there is an enzyme, LPL, lipoprotein lipase, just remember LPL, in the cell layer of a microvasculature, our 300 miles of capillaries in the body, the blood supply, to the eye, to the fingers, everything, okay? You need blood supply to everything. And that, they have found out that is turned on and off by whether you use your mobilizers or stabilizers. It turns on and off, and that determines metabolism of sugar and fat. Yeah, turn it on and off. So that that's why we call this sitting disease. If you sit for 2 hours, this LP enzyme that affects fat and sugar metabolism is turned on and off depending on what you're doing. So you will hear them say that if you sit for 2 hours, it's like smoking a pack of cigarettes, the effect on your body. Wow. Yeah. So sitting is deadly. Sitting is deadly. So you got to move. Just standing up and sitting back down, that's 1G. Gravity, this is all about gravity. Gravity affects everything, okay? Just standing up is 1G, okay? Now if you stood up on the moon, it'd be 0.16 G. If you stood up on Mars, it'd be 0.33 Gs, okay? I don't think I'll be getting there soon. Gravity, and many of us are gravity deprived because if we lie down, for example, almost no gravity. There's a little bit, but not very much. We stand up, that's 1G. We jump in the air, come back down, that's 6G. And that affects calcium metabolism too. The calcium that we need to hold up our bones, okay, is dependent on gravity. So if you're constantly gravity deprived, like someone we send to the moon, they come back, they've lost a lot of calcium. When some of the astronauts came back, they looked like storks. No muscles, gone. That takes a few weeks. Generally, if it's 30 days or less, it takes about a day in space. You need a day to recover. They come back, some have lost their muscles, their bodies are swollen, they're struggling to even walk. sending someone to space is like them aging. You know, they sent John Glenn out there for 7 days because they wanted to see the effects. He was 77 now, he'd been there before. And some young people, they sent out 7 days, they came back and they studied them, and they found the blood changes and muscle changes that were occurring were the same in Glenn than the young people. Yeah, because he's in good shape to begin with. So the aging process that we see in many people today around us is due to lack of activity. They're actually changing at not a different rate than young people. The reason as people get older, they lose less muscles because they're not doing anything. That's what the research seemed to point at. Isn't that interesting? So a lot of this was taken up then by NASA, for example. And that was a very good book written by Joan Vernikos. I'll hold it up for you. She was a NASA scientist, a very scientific book, and she did studies for 30 years for NASA. She studied all the astronauts and the effects on their muscles. And for example, here on page 15 of her book, and this is kind of interesting, how the body changes in space. Okay, interesting. Because remember, they're gravity deprived. But she also mentions that many of us lead our lives gravity deprived. She even, like we hear the word menopause, she talks about gravity-pause, because many of us are laying down watching ball games on our day doing nothing. Our activity of living is very poor. Our muscles are going away, our bones are going away, and we develop insulin resistance because the LPL enzyme is turned off all the time because we're lying down all the time. So our whole life is dependent on gravity. Yeah, that's the reason that we have cellular structure in the skin to hold us together, because gravity is pulling on us at all times. Isn't that interesting? So as people go in space, they develop some stomach awareness, and actually the spine lengthens a little bit because gravity is not pulling on it, okay? And things take longer to do as movement and reaction time are slowed in space, and you've seen some of these space shows that they're moving slower. The Achilles reflex, the ankle reflex slows down. The blood volume is reduced. You're less thirsty. And the body weight mass decrease. Increased calcium secretion. We're peeing out the calcium because there's no gravity on the bones, and it starts to liquefy, so the heart shrinks. Yeah, cardiac output is decreased, so there are great effects. So if people are out in space more than, say, 30 days, then they have to spend like 2 to 3 days for each day in space to recover, because they come back without muscles, just staggering, so muscles are less able to take up sugar. I mean, it's very interesting. So that body forgets how to live in gravity. It's interesting. And symptoms after returning from space, she describes everything feels heavy. I guess we're not surprised, are we? Standing can lead to fainting. You know how quickly that occurs, even in us. If we don't get up, move around, and do some things, like lay in a hospital bed for 3 days, you lay in a hospital bed for 3 days and you get up, you may pass out. The blood pressure, even myself, say after a long trip, I remember having to Chicago in the car all day, went to a theater thing at night, I'm high up on the stands and I'm sitting down watching a ball game, and I stand up, almost passed out. Gravity deprived. I've been sitting all day. Yeah, it's been interesting. I've 2 or 3 times in my life as that happened. Fortunately, I felt that something wasn't right, and I could feel the pressure dropping. But as soon as I stopped moving again, that cleared up. So it happens to all of us, and you got to be careful after say riding all day, and sedentary adults versus astronauts. She has a nice table in there, and normally our muscle mass and muscles decrease about 1% per year, but in space it decreases 1% per month because of lack of gravity. Isn't that interesting? And as we get a day older, some of us develop flabby muscles and stoop posture. It's because we're not doing anything. We're not exposing our musculature. We're acting like we're in space. So the aging process to us is like a space traveler. We're gravity deprived. Isn't that fascinating? Also, our hormones change as we get older if we're gravity deprived. So it's really critical what things that we do, and there's a partnership between the muscles and the bones. So people who say laying in the hospital for weeks at a time, that's the reason we need to go in there and exercise them. I used to, when I was doing neurosurgery, I'd be around and I'd be a little pushy. The patients could move their arms and stuff, or their legs. I put light weights on them. And I tell them, get therapy in here. Let's put some light weights on the wrist and on the legs. So while they're laying there doing nothing, they're moving them a little bit, bringing gravity back to the body. And those people went home sooner. They were healthier, and their hospital stay was less. And how simple it is to increase your movement. We spoke about the treadmill discs now and the stand-up desks now, and maybe jumping up and down a few times. I tell you, rope jumping, I don't necessarily recommend it for you to do because you may not be used to do it, but I'm used to doing it. So every time before I play tennis, I jump rope a little bit, about to 100, it takes me 40 seconds. And I'm so used to doing it. And but when you think about that, that's got to be one of the best exercises because I'm jumping in the air, and this, that's 6G for a minute. That's fantastic, and I do it regularly. So it's a good habit for you. And some people, especially if you're younger, you can maybe really get good at it and make that a lifetime habit. Your brain will remember it, and to make it more fancier, I didn't quite get to that. But if you're younger, start it younger, and you might be doing it in your 80s, and you'll be a very healthy person. I mean, we have a sedentary society today, no doubt about it. I mean, we find in this country 2/3 of the people overweight. Some racial groups, it's 90%. Yeah. And we need to act on that. It's not hard. But like I said, I recommend increase the movement activities in your everyday living of walking the dog and maybe jumping rope or some music or whatever the thing that makes fun for you. I was speaking to somebody the other day, and he liked ice skating, and he was still steady enough to do it. I said, get back to ice skating. But again, that takes skill. You got to be steady. You got to know that you're not going to take a fall. Let me give you some statistics. You won't believe this. On the average, most of us are sitting 13 hours a day. Yeah. Then we sleep for 8 hours. Okay? And sleep is important. A good night's sleep is very good to remodels your brain. Your brain isn't sleeping. You might think it's sleeping, but that brain is remodeling itself. It needs some rest. Gut needs some rest. So try not to eat late. Give your gut a rest. I think that's important. We move maybe 3 hours a day. So I'd like you to journal maybe for a week. How many hours are you moving? Pretty critical. This is very important. That's why at my tender age 39 here, I've celebrated that for a 41st time now. Hope you can add. And I do a lot of things to make sure I'm up, and fun things, you know what I mean? From playing pickleball to tennis to working out, taking dance lessons, music lessons, giving talks. But I'm always standing up. For an hour I gave a talk Tuesday night, hour and a half. I stood up when the weather's good, a walk in nature. These are all, and make them fun, you know? Look at the leaves, look at the bark, talk to the animals, sing to the birds, whatever, to make the thing fun. If you can make your exercise fun, you're much more likely to do it. So that would count part of my activity of living, okay? We're not going to call it gym activity. And as I mentioned previously, this gravity deprivation syndrome, which most of us have, is something to be avoided. And many of us are in gravity pause as we get older because we're just doing less and less. I saw someone the other day, he was very healthy, and he's retired from General Electric, I think, and I think for 20 years now. He's been carrying out groceries at Kroger's, and he says, and Doc, I talk to everybody. I remember their names as they come back in. So he goes back. He's carrying things, okay? He's walking. Occasionally, he's maybe singing a few songs even, and talks to people in the store. He was healthy as can be. You know why now. His activity of living was tremendous. If he ate even a reasonable diet, and he had a perfect figure, and probably late 70s he was now, and very healthy, I bet you he lives to be 100. Yeah, I bet you. And part of it is, many of us who develop health problems, we're going to cut 20 years off our life. But the other trouble is, well, might have 35 years of disability, amputations, strokes, live in a nursing home. Most of the time, this all can be avoided. 1 out of 2 people in this nation, 1 out of 2 in this nation, is pre-diabetic or diabetic. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. 1 out of 2. That has 50 diseases with it. 50 diseases with it. This is preventable, avoidable 90% of the time, but we are blind to it. Public health isn't teaching it. Our government leaders, even all the way to the top, how healthy is the guy on the top? I'll let you answer that question, okay? Maybe even pre-diabetic, because we know the figures, we know the BMI, okay? And so our leaders are not leading us to wellness, so you must take some responsibility for your health. You must participate in your health care. I have the Wheel of Wellness, sort of 8 things in it. You can see it some of my other shows on KachmannHealth.com, other YouTube shows. But number 1, participate in your health care. This pill to the ill, don't accept it. Unless it's an absolute emergency, participate, in your health care. Weigh yourself, so you know what your BMI is. So, for example, you know what the best measurement is, the best test to see if you might have type 2 diabetes, which is going to, even the pre-diabetes, you can have unannounced heart attacks and die right there. No angina, nothing. That's known, okay? Increased rates of cancer. All this can be avoided by weigh yourself. And there are some people that actually called the trophies, thin on the outside but fat on the inside. The fat is in their belly cavity. It's not under the skin. It's in the belly cavity. That puts out cytokines, makes you very unhealthy. So you say, well, you are what you eat. You hear that to a point, okay. Yeah, he's eating many vegetables, vegetarian, vegan, whatever. You don't have to be that, remember? I said just eat that way most of that direction, okay? And for example, would work very well. You are what you digest, somebody else might say. That breaks it down further, okay? Well, actually you are what your blood work is. And you got to get the right blood work. I suggest it's done this way nowhere. I suggest blood work once a year, starting age 2. Keep it in a book or computer page, and you will accumulate the self-information over time. In Europe and France, they have card vitale. It's on that card for everybody. In England, the same thing. We don't do that. With all the good computer stuff we got, is just nothing but silliness that we don't do that. I think we have to hold the government responsible for that, the medical profession. We should have our continuous health information all in the same place. It should be on a credit card, and you go to the doctor's office, you put it in there, and there it is on the first page. Not the 500th click. The first click is a summary of your blood work. It should include your profile on the fats, starting at age 2, and then also serum insulin. Hardly anybody gets that test. It's in many books. Dr. Furman, Mark Hyman, Dr. Lustig, I can just name more. Forks Over Knives, Dr. Esseltine. I can just name one after the other. All say the same thing. You got to check that serum insulin because the blood sugar may be normal, but serum insulin with insulin resistance is elevated and has associated with it a lot of dementia also, one of the complications of type 2 diabetes, which people don't realize. This Alzheimer's disease, this rampant epidemic we're having, no. We're having a lot of dementia, but it's due to insulin resistance. It's insulin resistance of our brain cells. We lose our memory. And they call it, you have Alzheimer's disease. It isn't Alzheimer's disease. It's dementia from pre-diabetes or diabetes. It's these drug companies want to make you think it's ALZ. Like Eli Lilly, you spend $1 billion. What did they find to cure dementia and Alzheimer's disease? Zero. Granada, zero. I even told that I had a research guy who I met accidentally 2 or 3 years ago. I said, that's fine you do this research. That's wonderful. But at the same time, work on getting rid of type 2 diabetes. But Eli Lilly makes insulin. Okay, so I suspect there's a conflict of interest here. I'm just speaking the truth. You need to be aware of it. Industry has a lot to do with this. So we talked about the activity of living. You know that pretty good right now. But and the type of food to eat. Remember, we already mentioned that a little bit here. Okay, eat foods of color. You can add mushrooms and onions. They have no color, but they're full of vitamins, minerals, phytochemicals. It is their interaction, their rainbow, okay, their symphony, their orchestra that determines good health. Yeah. Taking isolated vitamins work nowhere near as good as to eat the original product they were in. Yeah, like carrots for carotene, for example. Yeah, to eat the original product, they will interact better, which leads me straight to what I have every morning and I had today, a smoothie. That's the most wonderful thing you could do. And you get one of these Vitamix machines or Ninja. These things are a little bit cheaper, just as good. Actually, I use the Ninja. I've got both machines, but the Ninja, every morning. Today I was in a hurry coming for other things I was doing, and I just drank it on the road. Big thing. It breaks up the cellular structure of those vegetables, and if you add a few seeds to it, Dr. Furman in his books will say, if you add some seeds to it and put it in the smoothie, it will increase the nutrient gain times 10. It's in his books. Times 10. My God. So my body, kale and spinach and curcumin and nuts and frozen fruit and a banana and just all boom, boom. I'm drinking the darn thing. When am I going to be hungry? I don't know, 5, 6 o'clock? Because my nutrient need has been met. So if you're having a problem with eating too much, you're a sugar addict, a smoothie every day. I have a smoothie every day. Weigh 135 pounds. My blood test were totally normal, except one thing was off. the TSH, my thyroid stimulating hormone, okay? So call my provider. Then my provider calls me and says, I want you to pick up your prescription for thyroxine. So I look at WebMD and pulled out 3 papers and find out past age 60, oh, I forgot I'm 39, no. Past age 60, it's good to have an elevated TSH, which means my thyroid is low. It leads to a longer life. Now, if I had just taken that prescription, that would turn the TSH even, turn it off because you don't need it to stimulate it. I'm taking it. I probably would have taken it the rest of my life, and when I decided I'm sick and tired of it and stopped it, the THA would have been dead, and I probably would have been dead too. Instead, I take no pills. It's good to have an elevated TSH after age 60, and so participate in your health care. Thank God that I looked it up. So participate, in your health care. So so to be healthy, is it that difficult? If you increase your activity of living. Remember I said that's more important than the gym. That's more important than running triathlons. Increase your activity of movement throughout the day. The movements can be slow. They can be slow. Take up dancing. Take up tap dancing. And I took up tap dancing, yeah. And that'll in fact improve your balance, and it can be fun. Alexa, play Raindrops on Your Head, which I played this morning. Do you think it made me feel pretty good before I left on my adventurous day? Yes. So, but again, do something you consider to be fun, or play the guitar standing up is a good one. So, and we talk about the stand-up desk, the SUD, S-U-D. I was at an insurance company recently, and they had in there about a dozen stand-up desks and treadmill computers on them. It was really good to see. Yet some of them were confined to just to be on the computer, and I encouraged the owner, and the attitude of the owner makes a huge difference. Obviously, this owner of this insurance company was concerned about his employees, keeps his health care costs down too. But he himself does it. He's a leader. So if you're a leader of a company or a group, I beg you to participate in your health care so you can help teach the employees to be healthy. If there's a leader, the head guy is working out and looks good, has lunch and learns, goes around, looks at the employees, talks to the employees, you can have tremendous influence on that company. And if you work in a place like that, you are extremely lucky. It is really has worried me that I know some very successful companies in town, and I'm talking about success. But the boss is very unhealthy. Although I know some unhealthy ones who do promote good health on their employees. Okay, but I still like the head guy to live longer because he's providing a lot of jobs. And I want you to have a good job, okay? So I think they're so busy. A lot of people eat out twice a day. That's deadly. I even talked to one of them. He eats out twice a day. But then you must learn to eat in the restaurant. Some people eat beforehand. So in the restaurant, they eat very little. That's one trick. I pulled it off for lunch today because I had that smoothie. I wasn't hungry. My meal came, although it was a very healthy meal. I just had no appetite. I had a little bit of soup, and because I eaten before, my nutrient need had been met. Okay, that's interesting. Now, things you can do at work too. You get a break, you do some yoga, you can stand on one leg. Okay, that improves your balance, and that will really improve your stabilizers. I was on the island of St. Martin, I think it was last year, and I get up early, which I do regularly because that's when I do my exercise while everybody else is sleeping. And I see this guy standing by the ocean. I don't blame him. I mean, his body was wrapped around in a yoga posture, frozen in place. He was frozen in place, and he held that. Well, I mean, the point is, how does yoga work? You're not walking down the street. You're just assuming this posture. You're using a stabilizer, okay? And you are dependent on gravity of your body, okay? When you get the arms up in the posture, so down dog, up dog, there's changes of gravity all the time. That's how yoga and Tai Chi, you know, in Tai Chi, they'll have this posture. You go to China and you drive along and you might see 500 people early in the morning doing yoga and Tai Chi poses. I have seen it. I've been in Hong Kong. I opened the door of the Hilton Hotel, and this man in a white suit, 6 in the morning, greets me with a bow and the biggest smile you ever saw. And I said to him, "Are you this way every day?" He says, "I love my work. I love my job." So attitude really means a lot, and he looked very healthy because he's moving, he's smiling. In front of him, probably 100 people doing yoga and Tai Chi, and I joined them in that. They're very healthy. Remember, you're using your stabilizers when using these activities, so that's a great habit. Dancing is one of the best anti-gravity activities you can do because, you know, it also, your brain, you can sing along, and it's balance, and it's memory, so dancing is great. I did ballroom dancing, but I added some tap dancing. I must say I'm hooked on it now. That is really wonderful. Not everyone can do the sport I'm going to mention, pickleball. It's going across the whole country. You know, and a tennis player like me, it was pretty easy to adapt to it. But there's so much up and down that I had someone observe me and count up the number of times that I did a gravity thing, you know, bent down, spread my legs, jump in the air, went at a ball 202 times in 2 hours. Yeah. So I got to think. But again, I don't recommend, look at it first to make sure you don't, it's not like ice skating where you got to be unbelievably balanced. Pick a ball, but, you know, don't take it up unless you looked at it for a while because I don't want you to, although I rarely see somebody fall down, it's more likely than regular tennis. But it's more social, so you meet more people, and you really get a move. That's a great anti-gravity sport. I think juggling would be great. You know, I can't move that much. Well, try juggling. Juggling is, I mean, you're moving there. And that's one of the finest sports you could do, and jumping rope. The other company two companies, you can go online, stamina.com. I bet they got 100 machines on there, maybe more. All types of things you can use to adopt at home or in your office. Yeah, I just looked at it again. A little bike under the desk even. That's a great website. Dr. John Levine worked with them, helped design things. And also Ergotron, a company from Minneapolis, where Dr. Levine is from. They also make a great office equipment, great treadmill desks, great stand-up desks, treadmills. I mean, really good, advanced stuff. So if you're looking for equipment for your life, I mean, if you can do the thing at work, I'm telling you, way ahead of the game. Remember, good health, that's worth $1 million. You're worried about your investments. If you don't have good health, like I said, I know people that are worth hundreds of millions of dollars, but they're very unhealthy. I mean, you wonder, what good is that? You know what I mean? They're very unhealthy. So if you're in good health, you get $1 million. You get $1 million in the bank. And when you're eating nutrient-dense food, like I spoke about, okay, remember I said no diet? You know, even the Weight Watchers, okay, which I partially agree with as being one of the better ones, they do it by points, okay? When they speak about vegetables and fruit, no points. Eat all you want. And when I see Levine's book, you know, he talks about need points, a way of eating. I notice you don't count any need points for vegetable and fruit, just like Weight Watchers, okay? Eat all you want of that. Isn't that kind of interesting? Yeah. So if you're eating 80% that way or so, you're going to be healthy. You don't need to be a vegan or vegetarian, something special. I call myself a flexitarian or nutritarian. This is Dr. Furman, eating nutrient-dense food, foods of color. And I'd like to recommend to you, while I'm on that subject of foods of color, if you don't want to read, if you want to, what's the one thing I could do that I could get rid of my type 2 diabetes or be very healthy? Let's say you don't even have that. You just want to knock off 20 pounds and you think you don't have diabetes, pre-diabetes. You probably do if you got a little bit of pot belly. You do. They can say all they want. You do. Remember I said the most accurate test? Waist measurement. You get a pot belly, you get pre-diabetes 90% of the time, okay? Dr. Furman, who's a friend of mine, he's coming to Fort Wayne in September. He said he wanted to come to Fort Wayne to speak at the First Assembly Church. I'm bringing him here. I don't go there. I think it's wonderful they did this. He was there a couple of years ago. He wouldn't come unless he could stay at my house. Okay, then we're going to play tennis that evening. Last time I beat him, yes I did, and he's younger than me significantly. But he wrote a book, Eat to Live. I highly recommend this cookbook. Highly recommend it. It has breakfasts, lunches, and dinners, smoothies too, and another 15, 20 pages at most of information about this type of thing. But I could open up to anything and it will be healthy. Yeah, let me just demonstrate. I just open it up here. It says lemon herb cauliflower rice, okay? All right. Here's a picture of it. Looks very healthy, describes how to do it. He tells you all about juicing, things to put in different types. You make it different a little every day, you know, different type of smoothie maybe every day to make it interesting for yourself. I've gotten so used to them, I don't even notice the difference between first day and the next. To me, they're all delicious. Look at the next one, curried chickpeas and sweet potatoes, everything healthy. If you eat this way, if you had type 2 diabetes or just want to knock out 20 pounds, in a month, goodbye diabetes, no pills. I know of plenty of people that's happened to, and I'm talking about over 90%. Obviously, you had advanced type 2, not everybody. I even had a couple of people who were in the beginning of renal failure, stage 1 or 2, who managed to reverse it. Yeah, that has not been scientifically studied. I don't see that in any books, but someone needs to test that if you're early one. And don't stop your medicines unless you talk to your doctor. But I tell you right now, if you're going to eat this way, 100%, tell your doctor, my blood sugar is going to drop. Check it more frequently and let him know. And medications are going to have to be dropped within a month or two, and it may even include insulin, okay? Yeah, some of the people who are on insulin, type 2, insulin can get rid of it. Yeah, insulin, but let your doctor know. And know the symptoms of low blood sugar, high blood sugar, because for a month or so it may vary a lot because you changed. But just monitor it, call your doctor, but don't stop from doing it because of that. Oh, I don't want to do this in addition. If you could get rid of it, especially the type 2 diabetics who are now also taking insulin. Insulin is antibiotic, makes you fatter, okay? Increased rates of cancer. Remember we talked about before too? Insulin causes dementia, insulin resistance. It affects the conductibility of and I have the latest scientific papers. I got the scientific papers that they're now starting to show that most of dementia is due to insulin resistance, and the insulin is affected and causes IGF-1 products that deposit in the brain to cause dementia. Yeah. Get rid of type 2 diabetes, the odds of you getting dementia go down, okay? I think it's pretty big. So here's a lot of recipes in there. I would highly suggest you have a look at this. Here's another one, crispy kale chips. Yeah, you can take kale leaves, okay, and learn in the oven. That'll take 10 minutes, and you can have chips. That could be a snack. Extremely healthy, okay, and all the recipes in there, and green bean salad with lemon basil vinaigrette. Good gosh, doesn't get any better than that. So I highly recommend this book. If you just do this and then increase your activity of living, type 2 diabetes and 50 diseases with it. No amputations, decreased rates of blindness, heart attacks, strokes. Liver transplants are very common in diabetics now. Yeah, liver transplant. Can you imagine the medications they got to take and the things they got to go through? Oh my God, can be avoided most of the time. Here's another one, and here's a guy. He was very famous, and he sent you an email almost every day. Michael Greger, Greger. I know him personally. Okay, How Not to Die. He wrote a big book. Now you can read this big book. I read the big book, and it's great to read. But if you decide I don't like to read, then get his recipe book, his cookbook. Okay, the How Not to Die cookbook by Michael Greger with Gene Stone. Same darn thing. Pictures of these beautiful meals, and go online, look at his stuff. Maybe you can start getting his emails. Okay, it's all for free. It's all for free. And his sole job, Michael Greger, is to go through the world health literature, and he goes through it and then presents to you every day in an email what he has learned. Doesn't get any better than that. I mean, it can't get any better than that. And Neil Bernard and his group in D.C. Use him a lot. But everybody knows who Michael Greger is in the wellness medical field. If you just go to the average doctor, you go see wonderful people, hardworking people, and ask them who Michael Greger is. Most of them won't know that. Most won't know that. Here's one he's got: stuffed sweet potato with balsamic date glaze. Just look at the picture, man. I'm ready. Come on, somebody, serve this to me. Serve this to me. And so let's summarize things a little bit here today. What I really presented to you, how to be healthy. Is this difficult? Come on. Move a little, lose a lot. That's John Levine, name of his book. You know what I'm saying to you? Increase your activity of living. Didn't ask you to run a race. I didn't ask you to go to a gym. I asked you maybe to increase it at work. And if you own a company and you're the boss, lead a culture of this. Bring in some of these machines. The health bill of the company will go down. They're more likely to participate in that if you show as an example. Or some employees, develop a champion. You know, if you yourself feel you can't be the example, you have a certain group of people, a certain office, certain cubicles, have a champion there that any employee can go to this champion and talk to him. And that champion's job is to watch my DVDs, KachmannHealth.com, free 400 YouTube TV shows on health on there. So he gains some information, okay? He can help the fellow employees, send them notes, talk to them, listen to their troubles. That's how you get a company or a corporation healthy, because we are married to the chair. We're confined to a chair. We have a chair society today. How lucky you are. If you work in a factory and you're having to move, just eliminate any other thing that might be destroying your health, like drinking too much or smoking too much. For example, some take narcotics. While I'm on that for the last thing, don't accept an opioid prescription unless you had a heart attack or a broken leg or something really critical. Take it for a week or two. That's it, because it will hit these hot spots in your brain and addict you. Then you're totally dependent on this narcotic to feel good, versus what I've talked about: walking, singing, playing sport, playing pickleball, playing tennis, playing golf, whatever, activity of living. These are the things you want to use to make yourself feel good. Nature has designed in us this necessity to get chemicals to feel good, to light up the quick fixer. But we don't want it to be alcohol, cigarettes, or donut. We want it to be activity of living, laughter, some fun activity, and eat a nutritarian type way of eating, which I described to you. No diet. I don't want you to eat diet. I want you to eat the right food, eat all you want, but stay away from bad fats. If you're eating steak 7 days a week, it's not going to work, okay? So I think we summarized the thing done good. And if you want more information, you'll be able to see this on YouTube eventually. Maybe get this book by Dr. McGregor or Dr. Furman or myself. I wrote a book called Sitting Disease. It's on Amazon, cheap. And you can read that to gain information, okay? Because we need to participate in a healthcare. And I appreciate you listening to me and watch some of our other shows. We're on twice a week on television with public access TV. We thank them for allowing this. They've encropped that information too. We have two 95.6 radio shows too that you could listen to while you're driving down the road. If you see me, give me a hug, buy me a cup of coffee, talk to me, whatever, because I like to get feedback. I do daily see people who've lost their type 2 diabetes and who got off of their opioids, for example, and using exercise and doing memory stimulating things on CashmanHealth.com. That's Rudy's Brain Gym too, to sharpen your memory in case that's a problem from diabetes. And if you're type 2 diabetic, please watch this a number of times and get rid of it. Get rid of it. Get rid of it. That's the most important thing. On YouTube, I've got one there too. Spoken word on diabetes. You can watch it on YouTube where Eric Rees plays violin while I'm doing through the spoken word. I happened to watch it this morning, teaching 2 diabetics. God, we laughed so hard. Yeah, look at YouTube. It's number 1 or 2 on my YouTube site. Spoken word on diabetes. And I guess probably this is all I got to tell you today. We'll see you soon again. And I really appreciate you watching me. God bless. Thank you very much.
Interested in making a television show? Please call 260-4